Let us now mourn the passing of MoviePass, affected this week, or even today, for that matter, depending on how you're listening to it, when you're listening to it, or what day you're listening to it. MoviePass is no more, and I cannot say I am relieved that the misery of that company is over. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Entertainment Roundup Midweek Edition. I'm J77, and let's just get right straight to it. As you probably already have heard, courtesy of some articles, as well as Company Man, who actually surprisingly actually covered this. Company Man is a YouTuber who pretty much covers and does a great job covering businesses, their rise and falls, their decline and return, as well as why these companies are big as they are right now. It's a very well informative, educational channel. I wish you guys take a look at him, to give a shout out to him. He definitely deserved the description and the attention that he's gotten. One thing he actually covered, as well as pretty much I've been following for the past year, because it has been a big deal, especially when they released one of the worst movies that came out in 2018, probably one of the worst films that John Travolta has ever been involved with, and that's Gotti, a film that was in hiatus for almost 15 years. It is amazing how this company, this one entity, has fallen so quickly by the decisions they have made. And let me explain. The decisions they have made is pretty much the same decisions that most companies made, not understanding the full market they in or how they keep themselves afloat. And they was going for short-term margins, short-term profits, maybe if you correct myself, rather than looking at the longer picture. Even people within their own ranks have said that some of the stuff they was doing was bad for the business. It was not going to help the business, and they moved forward despite these advice from professional analysts and those who actually have ran the business before they have taken over, because another company took over and they figured this was the best way to go. Well, since that company taken over, it's been mistakes after mistakes after mistakes, and it finally led to them shutting down effective on September 19th, which is pretty much today, depending on how you're listening to this podcast. Now, you may ask yourself, what the hell is MoviePass? Well, MoviePass is a relatively company that gives you a monthly discount, especially for those movie lovers out there. And that's a discount. You can see any movie you want for one low price. Their lowest price was $9.99 a month. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you, that is a steal, which it was, because there was no way in hell a ticket cost $9.95 anymore. You'd be lucky if you found a ticket that cost $10. The most expensive ticket right now in New York, it could be either anywhere between $14 to $17, depending if it's 3D, depending on the brand of the theater itself, because a lot of these theaters are not mom and pop theaters. AMC, United Artists, Lowe's, which now I believe got exerted through Sony. These are all big, major mega theaters, and mega theaters are not cheap to go to. Even their popcorn and soda are expensive. The most cheapest theater you can probably get is probably a mom and pop theater, if you can still find it. It's hard to find a mom and pop theater. These independent theaters are pretty much on their way out in pretty much New York and abroad. But that was one of the main problems that MoviePass had, because one, they was charging a ticket price, and people was watching more than one movie. And what ended up happening was they were forking in a very huge bill. See, how that work is that they would pay the theaters for us to watch the movies, and they was paying way too much for us to watch the movies. Because let's be honest, if you have a deal like that, you're not going to watch one movie. You're going to watch 2, 3, 4, 5. Now imagine that times 100,000 subscribers. There was bleeding film money, and they was reaching no rewards. And that was the big problem of MoviePass from the get-go. It was too good to be true. In fact, it was too good to be true, and they was hurting themselves by doing this. Their main idea was it must have worked fine to collect all of the subscribers, that it was pretty much going to pay itself. Well, it didn't. And after constant retooling, revamping, acquiring, I don't know why companies think requiring a company is going to actually help their current situation. I never understood that part. But they acquired Movie Phone and other venues, but it still gave the same results. And finally, those mistakes, those setbacks, those failures, including 2 movies, which I only heard about one. There was another one they had done. I don't know. It's called Animal Party. It doesn't matter. I haven't seen the film. It just led down to a situation that they couldn't recover, and now there will pretty much be no more effective in the next 24 hours. This is a very disappointing time because I did think the concept was reasonable, but I think they made a big mistake of making it a monthly fee. They should have just been a discount card. Get something percent off if you watch this film, or 20% off if you watch this film, but not a monthly thing, because one, there's no way they could sustain it. Not what the subscribers they have, and even if they had like 1 million subscribers, the fact is that it didn't have no restrictions to begin with. What's funny about it is, again, like I said, there were actual people who was in the company and was in the company for a while who told them this was not a good idea. That this was no way this is going to work. And they went along anyway, and even more ironically, they fired the person who actually told them this was not going to work. I'm pretty sure he's sitting at home right now having a time of his life laughing at the failure. Another thing they also did was kind of weird. They actually basically helped fund a film called Gotti. A film that they actually tried to promote, a film that actually mocked the critics. And in the end, it not only became one of the worst reviewed films on Rotten Tomatoes, which really don't mean much, and I'll get to that in a minute, but it's just basically the fans didn't even tune into it. So it was sloppy. It was one of the worst mob films or crime dramas ever released. And in the end, all that piled with the fact is they tried to revamp and retool their policies. They actually put restrictions on certain films that was that people could see, and or just basically tune out other films while films that was out for a while was getting that special discount. They try to limit it to just 1 or 2 films a week. But in the end, it was just already too late. Those who came for that deal, and now they wasn't getting that deal anymore, and it basically just bowed out on the service. It was bleeding subscribers. It was pretty much a doom project, and a lot of it because, number one, they didn't thought this plan through. All they were thinking about was the short-term jeopardy and not the long-term road. And when you think that way, a good portion of the time, this happens. Now, do I think there will be another pass like this? I think so, but it will not be anywhere near what MoviePass did. It will probably be a discount. Probably AMC will probably do their own thing, considering that that AMC did not want nothing to do with MoviePass at all. Obviously, there was something happened, probably with money. They wasn't getting paid the money that they were. They didn't like the way the system worked. Whatever it was, they didn't want anything to do with it, and that pretty much hurt their chances because they couldn't work out a deal with the theaters, which is kind of amazing considering that should have been one of the first things to do, work out a deal, assessment, how much they're going to do. I think the movie theaters would have actually been more welcome to it, especially when they're bringing in people. In an age of streaming, you want to have audience in the seats. You want to fill those empty seats. I think a lot of this could have been prevented. Have their strategy plan would have been more thought out. It wasn't thought out, and it was very clear they was trying everything in the moon to keep themselves afloat. Well, they're no more, and all I can say is that for the brief time it was there, I think fans was enjoying the service, And I know that many moviegoers like something like this in the future. Not something that what movie Pass did, but something that will actually ease the wallet. Because let's be honest, movie theaters are not a cheap venue anymore. If you have a family of 2 or 3, it can cost anywhere from $30 to $50 to $60 to see that one film. That is way, way too much money for a family to ask. Especially when a lot of the theaters don't do matinee prices anymore. If they do, it's no different than the actual price they're actually paying for a single ticket. So I think that a discount pass will probably be the best way to go to ease the strain of the wallet, especially for a family of 3. It will be something good. Who knows? What do you think about this? I'd like to hear what you have to say. I'm moving on because there is something I want to talk about. It's not involves Dave Chappelle. It involves Rotten Tomatoes. It involves movie critics. It involves just honest to goodness opinion and journalism. And honestly, I don't see that anymore with the journalists that's supposed to be respectable, supposed to be honest, supposed to be biased when it comes to their own political views. Now, why I'm bringing this up, you would think this is supposed to be a political thing, but when it comes to entertainment, it belongs on this channel. Now, when I do my reviews, and I'm coming back on a flashback review later on down the road. October will be the flashback reviews return. I like to always keep it around October and then run far away from at least June or July. No later, no earlier than May. I always have a couple rules that I go by. Here are the rules that I do. 1, never influence a person by saying don't see this film, or you see this film. If you don't like this film, or if you like this film, you're an idiot. I don't believe in doing that. That is not my place to do that. That is not my job to tell a person they should or shouldn't see a film. It's not my job to berate or belittle a person for liking or not liking a film. My taste in movies, just like any other person, is going to be different than your taste. Just because I may like something or don't like something doesn't mean you may feel the same way I feel. Meaning you may like it more than I do, or you may hate it more than I do. That is fine. I don't bring my political or religious agenda involved in this film. That is not what these films about. How can I talk about religious values and the movie is about people chasing ghosts? A bunch of kids going out of space. No, I stay true to the entertainment value and keep my religion and politics away from that. If I didn't see the film, I won't talk about the film. Simple as that. I'm not going to give a review of why this film is trash and everything else, and I haven't seen the film. I've seen a lot of critics have done that, and it's just, I laugh. Because your credibility just went out the door. You're going to say you hate something, you haven't seen the film yet. But most importantly, when I come to do a review, whether it's flash review or modern reviews, it is an honest review. I'm giving you a reason why notice this is the key word, I did not like the film, or why keyword again, I like the film, and give you my bullet points of what was I like and did not like, and give you my final review rating on this. I'm not going to speak in professor terms. Nobody wants to hear that. I'm not going to act like that every film needs to be this way or else the film is bad. That's impossible. There's different genres, and not every genre fits the same taste as a articulate / artsy style film. I cannot expect Fred Krueger to be a art house masterpiece. That's not what that film is about. It's a slasher film. It needs to be rated as accordingly. And if I can't rate that film, I should have no business talking about that film. In fact, most of the time when friends ask me what's the best way to get a better opinion on films, especially in the horror department, I say check out these 2 magazines. They're dedicated to horror, and they will give you a rating based on that. You may find a hidden gem from the underground. There's a lot of horror that's being released in the United States on a daily basis. Not all of them are going to see movie screening review. That's just how it is. Doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that it's too gory for the big screen. But doesn't mean that you cannot check it out. There are magazines that will promote it. There are magazines that will rate it. But most importantly, you're getting an honest review from someone who is a fan of that genre. I've seen too many critics are very biased based on the gory and disgusting meh that is horror. Horror is what it is. It's not just one-dimensional here. There's horror, standard, classic horror, gore, slasher, triple slasher, and trust me, you don't want to see what that is. If you see it, you know what it is. Okay, Cannibal Holocaust. There are many, many different styles of horror. And to be honest with you, not every critic is going to like it. But you know what? There are critics out there who specialize in reviewing that film. And that's great. Now, why am I bringing this up? Because Rotten Tomatoes has been accused of something. More so on the critic side than it also on the audience side. And this has to involve Dave Chappelle, but it also involves another film called Joker. A film that hasn't been out yet. A lot of people have seen earlier, probably in other regions. There has been reviews in Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm going to talk about this. Now, as you know, I don't try and put the SAW into NSAW when it comes to stand-up comedy. Comedy is comedy. It is going to be raunchy at times. It's going to be offensive at times. I look at it as, what is the point? What is the payoff to what a comedian is doing? And if the payoff is great, so be it. There is no such. I have never yet seen a comedian go over the top when it comes to the materials. It depends on how they handle it and whether or not they're actually being funny. I still shake my head at the incident what happened at Laugh Factory with Kramer. He had never recovered from that situation, and that's largely because he wasn't being funny. He just lost it. And then you have people like, Jeff Dunham, who I think is a very talented comedian and puppeteer. Richard Pryor. Hell, even Larry the Cable Guy. He's not my taste. I'll be the first to say that. He doesn't speak to me in terms of his comedy, but he speaks to those who have lived what he has described. Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy. Of course, you also have some of the new guys, Paul Burr, that I got used to watching. And also, let's not forget my man, Dave Chappelle. Now, Dave Chappelle has a new series out. It is Sticks and Stones. It is on Netflix. Very good series. People have made reaction videos or laughing. Yet you wouldn't think that people was enjoying themselves from the critics. When it first came out, he had no percentage. You would think this was the worst thing that ever came out. And then the audience tuned in. And to say that is a difference between 9 days is like an understatement. They gave it a 93%, one of his best works, one of the great things that have ever done. He still got it. You name it, they loved it. They was enjoying themselves and they was happy. But you would not have known that by the way the critics and even those in social news has been responding. You've seen it probably on YouTube, cancel Dave Chappelle, which I find it hilarious. That some of these networks, including BuzzFeed and Young Turks, which by the way, Young Turks have no business even talking about Dave Chappelle. Okay, he's been doing this for years. And before they even think about criticizing Dave Chappelle and what he says, all I gotta say is, when are you gonna start covering cement? When are you gonna start covering incidents going on in Chicago? When are you gonna start covering Jesse Smollett, a man who lied, a man who basically wasted policemen's time, a man who basically got off because of corruption? But you don't talk about that. But you want to talk about Dave Chappelle's comedy hour. Get back to me when you're actually talking, when you actually do real news. That's just my opinion. I don't mean to be harsh, but anytime I see something like that and want to cover on something like this, cover something that is actually more important. With something you have not done, you became more and more biased when it comes to extreme left-wing media. You're no different than Fox. Sorry to say that. But that's my harsh opinion. You may not agree with it, but let's get back to what we have to say about this. The media is trying to bash Dave Chappelle. And there was actual stories about how flawed Rotten Tomato is, where people are actually giving it a bad review, not because it's a bad stand-up comedy show, but because they feel they need to satisfy the social justice warriors or people who are so sensitive that anything, even if his jokes has a point, doesn't matter. They're offended by what he does. They're offended by what he has said on that comedy show, and found he has no business being having that show on the air. He should be ashamed of himself. And you got people trying to say that he should be canceled, which is a joke. The critics who have rated Dave Chappelle feel compelled to give it a bad review. Not because they felt it was bad. I would have better respect if that was the case, but because, number one, they have to side with a group of people or a group of an organization to keep them at bay, because, let's be honest, the media has been taken over by certain political and religious groups and not by honest goodness journalism that we have seen to be lacking in the entertainment world these days. So what does all this mean, and what am I feeling about it is, look, first of all, I don't know how Rotten Tomatoes became the centerpiece of true journalism when it comes to movies. More and more, we are seeing how Rotten Tomatoes has been affecting our viewer experiences. I haven't seen that much influence since Siskel and Ebert. But with Siskel and Ebert, even though I may not agree with all their work, I respect the fact that at least being honest about it, despite my not agreeing with some of the tactics they have done. And to be honest, whether you like them or not, they have done good for the movie industry, brought attention to the hypocrisy of Hollywood, and even some of these award shows. Case in point, Who Dreams? Case in point, Malcolm X. Here, they're not doing that here. Here, if they're not doing anyone any favors by signing with a group of people, not because they're right or wrong, because they're fearful of what they may do to them if they actually give this a good review. If that is the case, because this is speculation right now and allegations. But if this is true, and that's the reason why Dave Chappelle has, right now, I think it's 20% on Rotten Tomatoes versus 90% overall audience. If this is true, then how can I take Rotten Tomatoes as well as the reviewers who have choose to review this special seriously? Personally, I was surprised as how big Rotten Tomatoes got in terms of viewership, to the point where I turn my cable channel right now with my wife when I watch the show, and I'm seeing Rotten Tomatoes scores on my bar. I'm like, why is this even here? Has Rotten Tomatoes gotten that popular? But besides the point is that if they're doing this, then they're basically broken the one code that I take very seriously when it comes to not just reviewers, but for any person involved in journalism. And that is honest reporting. You're not being honest with me if you're being pretty much forced to give a bad review to keep people happy. You should be able, just like I am, just like most of the critics who I watch, should be able to explain yourself. Now listen, I'm not saying Dave Chappelle was all, guns and roses here. There are some stuff that like, ooh, we're all pushing it. But there was a lot of stuff I said I can see its point. Jesse Smollett was one of them. He made fun of him, had a whole section of it. I was laughing. But he also brought up some key points about why he chose that topic. Something that a lot of people don't even think about. You're telling me I should be not upset about that? I'll give you my opinion. I thought the show was good. If you want my opinion, it was 3 solid stars. It was not as great as some of his other work, but it was still a fun show. I laughed. Am I going to sit there and say there's some things that are not offensive? No, there are some things that are offensive. But but comedy never is politically correct. I said this before. There are 2 comedians that you need to look at on YouTube. Long Beach Griffey, Caleb City. They're dark as hell. They are not politically correct, and they're not going to be. And most of the time, there is a symbolic message behind what they do. 2, this is nothing new to comedy. It's nothing new. Eddie Murphy, when he had his comedy, he was on the radar for making fun off of bringing up homosexuals in his comedy. They wanted to protest him. They wanted to basically say, how dare he did that, how dare he did that. Eddie Murphy didn't care. He said, look, this is comedy. He's not supposed to be taken seriously. He wasn't even trying to be disrespectful towards the gay community. He was right. He wasn't. I didn't even know this was going on until way later when I was reading up on his history. How he became a star and everything else. But this is what I'm having a problem with. If you feel that's you. I'm saying you, not what everybody else is saying. If you feel this thing was not good or out of taste, basically say it, but say it because you mean it, not because it follows a trend. It follows a pattern of what we're going through. We need to be politically correct about everything. So basically, we're saying we can't have all comedy, can't laugh. Dave Chappelle can't have make a living on stand-up comedy. Say he shouldn't do that. And 2, have you guys forgotten how comedy was with the pioneers? Sam Cashin, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Red Fox, Eddie Murphy, D.L. Hughley, Steve Harvey, Secretary of Entertainment Bernie Mac. Are we saying that all those worked all of a sudden now we got to be offended by what they were saying? Come on, guys. Let's be real here. Let's really think about what we're doing here. As far as these people, we need to be, sensitive. First of all, I'm gonna say this. Don't tell me what I need to do here. Okay? Let's be realistic here. I'm aware of what's going on. I'm aware that people's feelings. I understand. Trust me more than you know about why women are demanding more rights. I'm glad they are. But there are some who are extreme out there. It's more extreme than what they need to be in terms of pushing their agenda and doesn't care who they have to step on to do it. I can give you 2 names on YouTube that are still doing it despite the fact that they had deadly consequences not too far ago. I'm aware and I want equal opportunities for women and for all race. And from African American, I want to see that happen. But I also don't want it to become at the cost of basically trying to sensitize everything. That's not the way to go. And manipulating the press is not going to help manage either. All it's going to do is basically make me look at the press and say, are you really a true media, or are you just basically a mouthpiece for those who wish nothing more than to basically silence people who they don't feel that their political view don't line up with them? Which one is it? Now again, I don't know if Rotten Tomatoes critics are like this. I don't know who's on. I know Chris Stuckman's on there, but I don't know if he saw the film. He hasn't said anything about it. At least I didn't see it in my feed about the special. I don't think he does Netflix. I think he stays basically mainstream movies. But I know Jeremy Johns have said it, and Jeremy Johns hit it right on the head. That's a true, honest reviewer. He's not afraid to tell you what he thinks. And he was very good at breaking down the stuff that he found funny. He broke down the stuff that he found a little bit risque. But he also broke down the stuff that he felt had a point. And he enjoyed himself. That's an honest reviewer. Versus people who want to try and make this into a media thing what it's not. Just being real. And that's my feeling on the whole thing. Personally, I wouldn't listen to Rotten Tomatoes. I'm being honest. Personally, Rotten Tomatoes is not that reliable of a source of film reviews. I'd rather just look at any of the reviewers on YouTube than them. I get a why? Because I get a raw, honest opinion of what they have to say. Alright, this guy who's sitting in his car with his wife, his girlfriend, or his friends, or basically talking about the film they just saw, why they like it, why they didn't like it, giving us little details. Jeremy Johns doing his usual stick without spoiling anything, keep me entertained while at the same time reviewing a film. The Smos, my boys from Manic Expression. I'd rather look at their views or read their articles than watch a critic who already had in his mind this film was bad before even watching the film. That actually happened. But what's your opinion about this? Do you feel that this is blown out of proportion, or do you think there's some truth behind it? What's going on with the media? It is definitely sound like that there's an attack on anything that is not socially correct in a lot of these people's views, and to me, not a good move. Not a good move. Should never force a narrative. It never works out well. But that's all I got to say about it now. I'm going to save the other story. I wanted to talk about it here, but I don't want to go over the 40-minute mark. Actually, I've seen him already at 32:27 and counting. I will save that for the weekend wrapped up. It's involving the Saturday Night Live actor who was actually fired for poking fun at Asians. This is coming in the heels of Saturday Night actually hiring their first Asian comedic actor in their 30-plus year history. Says a lot about how long it took for them, but better late than never. It's more deeper than that. Than believe me, it is, because it's basically Hollywood in general, and how they view Asians in their screen, and that's a big layer of. We need to have a conversation about that. But it is something big. I'm going to talk about it honestly and openly, and give you a feeling. Is it a witch hunt? I heard two comedians tune in on the situation. I agree and disagree with them at the same time, because I do understand what they're coming from about people digging for the past. To me, the past is the past. No one should not be judged by something that happened 30 years ago. They were a different person back then. If they have learned their lesson and has moved on and became a better person, then you know what? Let it be. I think that's one of the things that James Gunn has experienced. They fired him over something that was said years ago. People wasn't going for that. And after DC picked him up, Marvel panicked, or say Disney panicked, say, oh no, we can't have this, and you know what? They brought him back. Personally, they shouldn't have fired him in the first place. Something happened a few years, 30 years ago. Are we all of a sudden going to just start ridiculing people for what happened 30 years ago? Let the past be the past. How they conduct themselves now, I'm concerned about. Now, this situation here, what he said, wasn't that far from the past. It wasn't years ago. It was a few months ago. Big difference. So we'll talk about that in a moment. But needless to say, it wasn't a comedy that he was doing. It was nothing funny that he was saying. It was mostly like a conversation like me or any other friend would have. So that whole situation dynamic changed somewhat But I won't give my honest opinion about it. He did apologize, but he still lost his job at Saturday Night Live. So I will talk about it on the weekend wrap up and give my honest assessment on the situation in full. But until then, guys, you guys take care, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon. And also a reminder to you guys, especially for those who are still fresh into school, of those who are parents who want to know where to get jobs and other resources. The best way to go about it is to go to your local library. They definitely have the resources needed for you to get back on your feet, or for even advice as to taxes, how to do your own taxes, or just basically if you want to just be in a community where it's relaxing, where you ain't gonna be bothered. Best place to go is the library. Pick up a good book, or do your own research on your computer via by the library internet service. Nothing speaks resources better than your local library. Until next time, guys, J77 saying take care, be safe. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.